What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and we're about to do what we do every single month on this channel, and we're going to be looking at Sun and Moon, and we're going to be looking at the top 20 singles cards and booster box prices and how they have changed month over month. Now, on Monday, we looked at Sword and Shield, and guess what? There was blood in the streets, but it's not a big deal. It's totally okay. We all expected it. We all knew it was coming, right? It's just not natural or healthy for cards to go up 20, 30% month over month. The market can't support it, and it's just not how things move in tandem, okay? So everything sold out at the Pokemon Center in a short amount of time. People started getting really excited about it. They were buying all of these alt arts left and right, buying, and then guess what? The prices got so high. There was a lot of selling, and that's why we're starting to see the prices come back down. But what's exciting and what's really cool about this channel is we look at all of these different eras at a macro view every single month. So while all of the craziness was going on in Sword and Shield, we were sitting here on the sidelines looking at these Sun and Moon graphs, and these numbers change month over month, and we were saying, you know what? There's some pretty cool opportunity in Sun and Moon. There are some cards that have come way down off of those super high highs that we saw in 2023, and we were starting to see the market just shift a little bit. We were finding cards with support lines, and now we're starting to see some of them gain. Matter of fact, every single card that we're going to look at, I look at the sets, and then I highlight a card. Every card that we're going to look at in the video this month are ones that we looked at last month, where we said, hey, there might be some gains here, there might be some opportunities, there might be some support lines forming. So we're going to see how they have. Some of them have won, some of them are flat, some of them haven't done so well. But that's why we do this. We always like to check ourselves, and I think it's going to be really fun to look at it. Now, you can see that we have been managing and looking at these data points since September of 2023. And what I do is on the 15th of every month, I go ahead and pull all this information. I pull the top 20 singles cards and all of their individual prices, and I pull the booster box prices. So you're going to be watching this after the 15th. It just takes me a long time to get the data aggregated and into the spreadsheets. But guess what? This is more directional. We're trying to see how eras are moving. And I don't only do this for Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon. I also do it for the XY era. I also do it for Scarlet and Violet, because I think that we can learn a lot, especially as we get deeper and deeper into this and more data points, and we start to see Scarlet and Violet mature a little bit. I think we're going to be able to layer in all kinds of learnings and have an absolute awesome time, and hopefully a little bit of a level up when it comes to investing and collecting in the Pokemon space. So with all of that being said, if that gets you excited, if you want to be a part of that stuff, hit that subscribe button. We do things like this all the time on the channel. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, and if you have questions or comments, drop them down below. So as you can see, what I was saying is exactly that here. You'll see from September until March, these cards, these top 20 singles cards from Sun and Moon, were on a slow and steady decline. You can see it in the graph in blue on the right, and you can obviously see the numbers there as well. But what we've seen is in April and May, it started to flatten out a little bit, and now we're starting to see some growth, right? We saw May to June, it was up 2.89%, and then June to July, it was up 1.23%. However, I do want to call out, if you go back to September and you aggregate those top 20 singles cards and you compare it to where it is now in July, even though we've had 4 months of green in a row, guess what? The total number is still down 7.6%. So even though we're going to see some cards that are starting to get a little bit of momentum, I still think there's an awesome buying opportunity in a ton of these cards. So as you can see, things are starting to move in an interesting direction in the Sun and Moon space, especially in the top 20 singles cards. And now we're going to look at the booster box prices. And again, totally different story in Sealed, right? Sealed just has a tendency to do its own thing and grow like you would not believe. Now, the interesting thing is, as I said, on Monday, we did the Sword and Shield view. Well, guess what? The Sword and Shield from September to July, Sword and Shield booster boxes were up something ridiculous, like 34%. Well, guess what? Sun and Moon hasn't performed that poorly itself, especially considering how expensive these booster boxes were already in the month of September. They still have a gain of 15.5%. Now, it's not quite as straight and smooth of a line as we saw in Sword and Shield, but this goes to show you that even if your booster box jumping off point is $500, $600, heck, some of these were all the way up in the $800 range. Like, as long as they are great products, as long as the market is super strong, there's still the opportunity for some gains out there. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy a bunch of Sun and Moon booster boxes. Personally, for me, I think we're getting to a very exciting point in Scarlet and Violet, so I know I'm going to be going really heavy on some of these. I have no problem waiting. I've got a long-term time horizon. I can buy them in the $100 range, and I will sit on them for 5 years and then make some money in the future. But it's really cool to see how these booster boxes have performed, especially since there's a lot of Sword and Shield booster boxes getting right at that $200, $250 range right now. So interesting to see if those will follow the Sun and Moon's path sometime in the future. Now we're going to get into the sets themselves. And Cosmic Eclipse and Unified Minds. I absolutely love Unified Minds. One of my favorite sets out here in the Sun and Moon block. And guess what? It is up 3% month over month. That is a banner month. And the other thing I like to call out too is, since I look at this information as often as I do, and especially since I look at it across all other eras, like, good for you, Cosmic Eclipse. So many cards over $100. And again, think about it. From September till now, the overall top 20 cards for all of these Sun and Moon sets, guess what? They are still down 7.6%. But even with all of that regression, Cosmic Eclipse still has all of these cards over the $100 mark. And then you've got one at 98, one at 94, one at 86. So just a lot of strength there. And it is really, really exciting to see Cosmic Eclipse doing what it is. Now, the thing that I said in the beginning was we were going to look at some of these cards that we found support lines on last month, and we called out and said, hey, listen, these cards, the artwork is pretty awesome. There's a lot of excitement around them. Maybe they're going to take off. Well, we talked about this Mega Sableye and Tyranitar. I love this card. I think the artwork is absolutely stunning. And guess what? This was one of the ones where we saw that support line. You'll see from May of 2024, over those couple weeks, right, it started to flatten out a little bit. And guess what? Now it has started to go up. It is not an aggressive upward in the right trajectory. Matter of fact, I would say it's starting to curve and flatten out a little bit. But it was really cool to see this card actually gain some over the last couple months. So excited to see this card all the way up at $136 right now. It's up about 5% versus where it was last month. So exciting gains. And again, when we talk about these percent gains, you're talking about month over month. You're talking about 30 days. Remember, I pull this on the 15th of every single month. So I mean, the price gains here, 5% in 30 days is a significant jump. So really cool to see this card doing well. And again, the artwork on this one is absolutely stunning. Next sets we're going to look at right here is Unbroken Bonds and the monster that is Team Up. Again, two sets that performed really, really well. I love Unbroken Bonds as well. It's up 2% overall for the top 20 month over month. Team Up is, again, it's the Evolving Skies of Sun and Moon, or you could say that Evolving Skies is the Team Up of Sword and Shield. I think that's probably more applicable, but it's really cool to see this. The other thing that I like too is if you look at the top of Team Up, you see the Lovebirds card up 6%. It is really cool to me to see that card performing so well. It's exciting to see an $800 card with this amount of age behind it still being able to gain some dollars month over month. And again, the other thing that I thought was really interesting was I always talk in these videos, or well, I usually talk about in these videos, how strength at the top gets me excited. Well, you see that the top three singles cards from both of these sets are up, which always gives me a whole good feeling in my stomach. Anytime I see that, it makes me feel like things are going in the right direction. Now, I told you we were going to talk about the cards from last month. Here's another one that we talked about from last month. Now, Sylveon is having itself a freaking month. It is insane. If you saw any of my videos from over the weekend, I did two totally unrelated videos, and both of them showed a lot of good momentum on two totally different Sylveon cards. And here we are again, seeing this one. Again, it reached that really flat kind of support line there, and it spent weeks flattening out. And whenever you see that, it just gives you the feeling that something good is about to happen to it. Whenever it stays flat for a while, the market is supporting it at a certain price point, and then we've seen it pop up. Now, this one does seem to be flattening out a little bit, but again, really exciting to see this card. And again, these are the trends that we're going to be looking for in the future. We're going to look for these support lines. We're going to look for cards that have come down. This card was up at $240 at one point. It's been working its way down all year long, and guess what? It finally starts to see that support. Now it gets a little bit of a jump. The question is it going to hold on to it? And now we're going to have to wait and see what comes out. But I do think Sun and Moon has got a whole lot of momentum behind it at the current point in time. Next ones we're looking at, Lost Thunder and Celestial Storm. Now, Celestial Storm had some weakness last month, but it is holding strong. Celestial Storm has been an amazing set to watch. That booster box, if you were to trend line the booster box prices out, that would be as steady Eddie of a trend line as you will ever see. And I'm excited to see Lost Thunder doing well. You know, when we talked in Sword and Shield, I talked about how exciting it was to see these sets with very few cards under $10. You think about Astral Radiance, there's only 4 cards under $10, right? You think about Chilling Reign, you think about Evolving Skies, like there's no cards under $10 in those sets, right? And you look at a set like Lost Thunder, well, guess what? There's no cards under $10 in this set either. And even though it's not my particular favorite set, you got the Lugia Rainbow card up there at the very top, which we've talked about in the past, and we're going to look at here in a minute because we thought we saw a support line. Like, there is some excitement there in the Lost Thunder set. So it was really cool to see this one up a little bit month over month. Celestial Storm up a little bit month over month. And that chase card in Celestial Storm, again, that is another card that has just been absolutely killing it. And when you look at the Lugia here, same patterns that we've seen, okay? Same patterns. And when you see the support line for the big chase cards, I'm not going to continue to beat the dead horse, I promise you, but when you see the support lines, and especially these chase cards that are at the very top, or at least in the top 5 of these big bad sets, usually that's a good sign of good things to come. And here again, we saw the price jump up a little bit over the last month. So excited to see this Lugia doing well, and excited to see Lost Thunder holding on to its weight. And again, Celestial Storm has just been crazy the way it has performed over the last year. The next one we're talking about here, Forbidden Light and Ultra Prism. This is one I was really excited to look at. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, you think about Forbidden Light, and at the very top of Forbidden Light, you know, there's not a whole lot of excitement in here. There's not a big chase card to drive it. But when you look at Ultra Prism, everybody knows you have the Lily card at the top of Ultra Prism, and that was like one of the cards of the whole Sun and Moon era. And that was one of the cards that we called out. It had gone down way off of its high, and it was starting to hit that $400 mark. And that $400 mark is where I said, I feel like there's some support there. It's going to take a lot for it to break that $400 now. When I pulled it on the 15th, guess what? It was at $385. So it had broken below that $400 mark, like womp womp. That was a big miss. So who knows what's going to happen? But the good news is I have the card right here for us to look at. But before we do, again, we see 2 sets that are up, but you know I talk about strength at the top. So when you look at Forbidden Light, all 3 of those chase cards are down. So most of the growth there in Forbidden Light came in the middle. And again, I think Forbidden Light's just going to struggle a little bit without that big chase card. But now let's look at the Lily. Here it is, and that's what I was talking about. I mean, this was a $500 card earlier in the year, back in October of 2023. Now, I think there was a lot of things going on there. Obviously, Sun and Moon had a lot of momentum then, plus that was when all of our trainer cards were going off. You know, all of the Japanese trainer cards were absolutely on fire, and I think that momentum shifted over to the English side, and Lily was up at $500. And ever since then, it has been working its way down. So now it is still holding steady at that $385 mark. You see that it is starting to flatten out. I feel like it is going to find a lot of support at $400. I am certainly not telling you to go out and buy Lily right now because it's going to pop off. All I'm saying is it is exhibiting some behaviors, or at least the price movement is telling me that the market might be finding, I won't call it a bottom, but the market might be finding some support for this card, because this card is an absolute stunner. I think no matter what happens in the trainer space, there are going to be certain trainers that just kind of can, you know, just stand on their own throughout the test of time. And I think this Lily from Ultra Prism is certainly one of them. So next month we'll look at this card again and we'll see where the price is. Next one's right here. Now we're starting to get to the very beginning of Sun and Moon. We got Crimson Invasion and Burning Shadows. The Charizard in Burning Shadows has been a story to tell. No matter all of the trials and tribulations that we've seen in Sun and Moon, that Burning Shadows Charizard has done really, really well. Now, Crimson we've been talking about for the opposite reason. We have been saying, is Crimson going to be the set in Sun and Moon that has no cards over $30? It has been working its way down for quite a while. It is going to be very, very interesting to see. Now, you are going to see some patterns in these 4 sets, the same things that we saw in the Sword and Shield set, right? So that's something to call out. But I'm telling you, that Zard right there, look at what I was talking about. The Zard has been performing really well. Now, when it's a high dollar card, very few sales, it kind of gives it a little bit of a choppy, but no matter what, it has been choppy upwards and to the right. Now, it has come down back a little bit, but it is starting to show that flattening out. So next month, we'll look at this card and see how it's performed. But the Charizard has just been a beast for the Burning Shadows set over the last year. The next one and the final one, we're looking at Guardian Rising and Sun and Moon. Now, Sun and Moon base has been like this shining star. Do you remember? I don't know, it must have been a month ago at this point. I talked about, you know, winners and losers of the first half of 2024, and Sun and Moon base was actually the biggest winner from all of the Sun and Moon era, right? Like the singles cards were up, I think 17% since the beginning of the year versus the rest of Sun and Moon, where most of these were pretty much flat. So Sun and Moon is coming back down a little bit. It's down 4%. It's got some Umbreon cards in there, right? And I just think there's a lot of excitement around Umbreon and in general, and so we've seen that. But look, even the Chase card held on to a lot of its gains right now. So really interesting to see this. And you know, Guardian Rising just kind of plugs along. There's no excitement there. You know, you got the $60 card. Outside of that, everything's sub $30. It's going to be interesting to see what goes on with these from a booster box and from a singles perspective further into the future. But again, the exciting thing about Sun and Moon was, look, I mean, this Rainbow Umbreon GX right here, it popped up and I really thought it was a buyout. Matter of fact, I called it out. I was like, guys, don't freak out. This thing's going to come back down. Like, this is just somebody buying it out. But at least for the last couple weeks, it has held its water. It has held steady up at that $60 price point. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one flushes out. So with all of that being said, listen, if you all enjoyed this stuff, hey, we do it all the time, every single month. I might be doing Scarlet and Violet on Friday. We'll have to see if I feel like the data there is worth doing. Scarlet and Violet is so new, I don't always feel like it's relevant. But hey, if the data looks good, I I will go ahead and share it with you. And then the XY era is just absolutely popping off, so I'm gonna have to figure out something to do with that to get in front of you guys. But if you made it to the end, you enjoyed the content, hit that subscribe button. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below. And as always, if you like what you see, give us a big old thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you more than I can say, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks, everybody. Bye.